welcome back to the channel. This is Tom at Pancake Analytics. Thank you for watching and continuing your analytics journey in improving, enhancing, empowering your trading card collecting, whether it be sports cards, non-sports, TCG. This video, I'm going to tackle a sports card question. The full analysis is already on the website at www.pancakebreakfaststats.com. I'll put it on the screen as well. You want to go to that website to access all the detailed data for what I'm about to walk you through. So the question I want to answer with analytics, with data science, is does winning a championship matter for sports card values? So I'm calling this We Are the Champions. So as the Super Bowl concludes, you're going to see a flood of content creators armed with free access to applications such as market movers. We also have affiliate links, but they're going to try to give their perspective on, say, Patrick Mahomes cards specifically. Often they're going to dive into charts and graphs they may not fully grasp. So in this, it's akin to, and this is my favorite analogy when it comes to data analytics, and you're just doing descriptive analytics, and it is, proclaiming it's raining during a downpour. So it's telling you, hey, it's going to rain while it rains. Me, on the other hand, I aim to leverage my extensive experience as a data scientist to provide you with sophisticated analytical solutions for your sports card collecting endeavors. So in this case, I'm going to draw from my previous work, particularly what I leveraged in analyzing Steve Aoki's influence on markets such as Star Wars, Marvel, and Morgana trading cards, using the approach causal impact time series. So in this analysis, we're going to dive into the past 3 years of data pertaining to a championship winner and losers. We're going to cover football, baseball, and basketball. Through this, I aim to uncover the causal impact of winning or losing on the grandest stage of these sports. So really quick, let me refresh everyone on the approach. You can always go back to the article that I produced on Steve Aoki, or go back to that video as well. And let me also explain why it's more accurate than pre versus post, an event approach that you're seeing most of these content creators show with no context to a graph. So causal time series analysis offers a more accurate assessment compared to a simple pre and post comparison for several reasons, particularly in the context of market analysis. Think of dynamic effects, control variables, counterfactual estimation, statistical rigor, and those long-term effects. So causal impact time series provides a more nuanced and accurate understanding of how events impact markets, making it a valuable tool for businesses and investors seeking to make informed decisions. But what is it actually? In a nutshell, I'm creating two time series before the event occurs, time series once the event occurs, and comparing those time series. So we're going to smooth out all the outliers and outside factors that may limit our ability to show impact from sports championship. So let's look at this really high level. All of this is interactive on my website, by the way. This bar graph breaks it down, the losers and the winners, and you can see the forecasted smoothed results. So that is before the event occurs, and then your actual smoothed results. So you can see the winner That dark blue, almost purple hue is after the event occurs. Purple, blue bar higher, that means better. I also graphed the actual lift percentage for you in this bar graph. So losers down on average 5%, winners up on average 3%. So I will get into the individual sports and the players that feed into this analysis, but just once again, the quick results of this. So on average, sports championship winners experience a modest 3% increase in trading card prices. Conversely, if a player's team loses the championship, there's an average 5% decrease in trading card value. These averages, however, will vary based on the sport and the individual player. To illustrate it, I'll start by discussing the impact of the World Series on trading card values. So let's look at these graphs for baseball. It's almost identical, loser and winner. So overall, winning or losing the World Series doesn't show a significant difference in the impact of trading card values. Both the winner and the loser of the World Series observe on average a modest 1% increase in trading card value. That suggests in the context of the World Series, the outcome doesn't have a substantial effect on the trading card market of the players involved. But when we get into the individual players that feed into this, you can see there's always going to be the case where, wow, they were heavily affected. Basketball tells a different story. You can see that purple bar is a little higher. If you win the NBA championship, you're up 3%. Losers are down 9%. So that's about a 12 percentage point swing. So winning an NBA championship has the most significant impact on trading card values among the sports I analyzed. On average, winning a championship results in a 3% increase in trading card values. However, if a player's team loses the championship, there's an average decrease of 9% in trading card value. This 12% point swing highlights the substantial influence of NBA championship outcomes on the trading card market for the players involved. Now on to football. So you can see the losers are actually have a 7% increase, winners 4% increase. But if you look at this like the actual values, this might be more of a scaling issue. So if your values are very small to begin with, slight shifts actually drive a higher percentage. So I would take this chart over here with a grain of salt. That 4% is actually much higher in value than even the total index value of the losers. So now let's start diving in. We'll begin with baseball and start the individual players. So on the screen, you'll see Ronald Acuna Jr. I understand he was injured for this World Series, but I highlighted him just as what would be collectible from the Braves for the casual collector. You can see on the screen, here is the actual value, the forecasted value, so that is before the event. Here's the smoothed forecast in green, then the actual smooth in orange. So I'm looking at the difference between the orange and the green. We're also comparing it against the overall baseball card index from Card Ladder. So let's dive into the 2021 Major League Baseball season and the Atlanta Braves victory in the World Series. Ronald Acuna Jr. injury, as I mentioned before, was a significant moment, and it's interesting to consider his collectability, especially amongst casual fans. So when analyzing the broader sports cards market, it's crucial to consider the perspectives of both casual fans and collectors. So in this context, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s cards experienced only a 1% decrease contrasting with the actual increase in baseball cards against card ladder, which was about 4.7% during the same post period. So this underperformance by Acuna may reflect the strong prospect focus within baseball card collecting and enduring popularity of vintage trading cards. You know, vintage cards for baseball is not going to be affected by who won the World Series this year or not. And for those interested, I include the detailed breakdown on that 1% decline and how I got to impact. Now let's begin with Corey Seager, the loser of that series. Same approach, same color lines compared to the card ladder index. So the impact on Corey Seager cards was also roughly just 1%. It's interesting to note that both the World Series winner and loser under-indexed against the entire baseball market. So once again, it supports the vintage baseball cards actually drive that market, or there's some prospecting going on. So there's the breakdown of the math as well. Now let's go to Yordan Alvarez winning in 2022 for the Houston Astros. So same approach. He actually saw a 12% decrease in value. So his orange line versus the green line. And the reason why this is more statistically valid is because otherwise I am just looking at my actual value, right? This last data point versus right before the World Series. And you might be understating the effect, right? You're missing out on all these other sales. So hopefully that explained it a little bit clearer. Once again, some math behind it. And now, surprisingly, here's Bryce Harper, World Series loser of the 2022 season of the Philadelphia Phillies. His cards saw a spike, an increase. His cards were actually up 11%. So same approach. Go to the website. You can click into all the values there. So obviously, try not to get too much beyond just the World Series book for causation, but I don't want to leave you hanging when I think of like, okay, what could drive up Bryce's cards during that period? Typically, there's a lot of more supply when a championship ends. Potentially, in the case of Bryce Harper, probably a couple of high-end cards were moved or found a new home, or cards that don't hit the market that often. Here's something interesting look, specifically around Corey Seager. Here it is when he won the World Series. Now remember, when he lost the World Series, he only saw a 1% increase. Now when he won it, look at his actual smoothed versus the green forecasted smooth. He drove 26% increase in his price. So we're seeing large swings here. Now let's look at the loser of that series, Corbin Carroll, Arizona Diamondbacks. You saw a decrease in value of 2%. Now let's switch to basketball. Giannis, 2021 season. You saw a 2% decrease. So what this approach does is it really smooths out your outliers. It really focuses just on the NBA championship. So let's take into consideration some incrementality for him. The basketball market actually went up 2%. Let's see, Devin Booker, who was on the losing side of that championship, his card saw a 3% decline. So Giannis declined at a slower rate. Now, Steph Curry, on the other hand, winner of the 2022 season, basketball cards during his post period declined 4%. So, what this approach does also control for, I talked about earlier, those controlling factors, it controls for just the market either being down or up, right? So, the entire market being down shouldn't necessarily be on the NBA championship, is what I'm getting at. So, his cards sort. Well, I believe that's probably a typo. No, there we go. 3% increase in his basketball cards. Sorry, I read that 4% decrease. I was like, no, Curry was up. Yep, Curry's up 3%. Now let's look at Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics losing that series. Again, compare the orange to the green. Apologize a little bit. I'm battling a little bit of a cold here. So Tatum's basketball cards actually dropped about 20% in value. And none back. Raspy voice and all. So Tatum, 20% loss in value. Here's the math behind it. Now let's look at one of our biggest swingers, Joker. So Nikola Djokovic. Again, compare the green to the orange. Basketball index was down almost 2% over his post period. He actually saw a 5% decrease. So that 5% decrease is just from the championship. What can say? Right? Looking at it pre versus post, you have other factors in there that are not associated to the NBA championship. Right? So this is why this approach just looks at okay, pre, post, smooth it out NBA championship. His cards are actually down 5%. Jimmy Butler, loser that year. His cards were down 12% due to the NBA championship, right? So that kicks out the 2% from the overall market and just focuses on the championship, him losing. Now we go to football, which is a little unique when you see in the results. Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams, 2021 season. Orange versus the green, almost no significance. Football was down a little bit less than 1% during that post period as well. So 1% decrease, less than 1%. There's the math behind it. Joe Burrow, the loser, actually saw a 10% increase, right? A lot of this is the football market and, prospect speculation there. It's mixed in as well. Patrick Mahomes which is the hot topic of everyone now. People are either telling you to collect Patrick Mahomes. You should have been collecting Patrick Mahomes. Don't collect Patrick Mahomes. You should collect, I think it was Drake May. I have to look that up, but it was some quarterback for UNC, I think. He was in Bowman U. It was probably one of the worst takes I heard recently on YouTube. You should be buying him instead of Patrick Mahomes. Unproven. So looking at his orange versus his green. You'll see his cards increased by 4%. Thanks to the NFL championship. So one way of looking at this, he won the Super Bowl, helped stop his cards from dropping and even 4% more. Football as a whole was down 2% during the post period. Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl loser. Remember, we're comparing the orange versus the green. He was down 6%, so more than the index, more than Mahomes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for joining me in this in-depth analysis and for investing in empowering your collection with data science and advanced analytics. Key takeaways from this analysis are clear. Winning a sports championship tends to drive a 3% increase in sports card values, while losing a sports card championship leads to a decrease in 5% sports card values. However, it's important to note that in any analysis of the broader sports card market, there will always be outliers and niche individual sports card examples that defy these trends. So this underscores the complexity, dynamic nature of sports card market, where various factors can influence card values beyond just the outcome of the championship. So before I bid you adieu, I also built an interactive chart that you can play around with, and you can actually do some comparative analysis for yourself. Over here, I clicked winner, and it shows all the lifts per winner, breaks down every single winner. So in this case, you can see Corey Seager across all four sports has the highest percent lift. Steph Curry's there, Patrick Mahomes. But in most cases, you actually decrease. You can focus it just on a sport, or you can actually do comparative analysis. Sorry for the typo in Corey's name, but you can see when he lost versus when he won. So it's like a 25 percentage point swing. And tables there, you can export to Excel. So thank you everyone for joining. Hope to catch you soon. I'll be at the National in Cleveland this year, and I'll be coming on a couple of podcasts in the next few weeks. Don't want to disclose them right now. I'll disclose them when the recording is actually finished. So thank you, everyone. Hope to talk to you soon. And bye.